Well, let me tell you why it's such a wonderful day. Skies blue above the clouds. Thank God the snow hasn't come lower yet. I still got to get wood. Most of us have clean water. Does anybody talk to the man that I address as Justin about clean water for our native cousins? So Trudeau announced here that the social media has to shut down pretty much anybody Trudeau doesn't like within a 24-hour period, or they'll be experiencing, the extortion of big fines and stuff. Now here's the problem I have with this. Now I've had a few discussions with guys over this, and okay, so you got social media, you got your Facebooks, your Googles, your YouTubes and stuff, and now some people see them as private companies, but are they not public companies on the stock market with public investors? Or are they completely private companies that operate within the public? See, that's not a private corporation. Now remember, as I was telling you, whenever you register your corporation with the corporate body, the government, then all of a sudden they have control over your business. You hold your equity. So let's take Facebook or YouTube or something for example. If they're shareholders, then the shareholders do take ownership over their equity, but the government can still come in and control things. Now, government controlling business is wrong. Okay, this is a Soviet, Nazi, China kind of deal there. And that's just not the foundation of our nation. So we have something called the Constitution Act 1982 and Charter Rights. So I'm just gonna stick there for a minute now. In Article 52, is it 52.2 of the Charter? That any law that abridges any of the fundamental rights set herein is of no force nor effect. So it says everyone has freedom to express themselves, and then you gotta take a look at the Constitution for what it is. I mean, when they use the word everyone, that means everyone. So that's all of mankind. Everyone's the same as all of mankind, and so all of mankind that's operating as persons, operating as this and that. So everyone has the right to express themselves freely. Everyone has the right to access a court of freely access a fundamental court of jurisdiction, a proper jurisdiction. Anyways, I know it's like my memory's getting old, and when I was studying the Constitution and stuff, I could rehearse it really good, and then I had to start studying other crap, and then you kind of put that back in your behind thoughts. But what my point with the Constitution is, it's a guarantee in the Constitution that the government has to recognize the fact that everyone has the right to freely express themselves. Now, for this man who may or may not be acting as the prime servant to Canada, the leader of the Liberal Party, well, maybe we'll keep that one. I wouldn't keep him there if I was a Liberal. But so this man comes out and threatens all the social media corporations by way of extortion. If you don't shut down blah blah blah, what I don't like basically is what he said, then you're going to be subject to fines and penalties and stuff. That's extortion, guys. You know, the legal society sure loves their extortion, don't they? Just on my lunch here. So now, so what I'm getting to the point is, you know, some people have the argument, well, that's a private company and they can set their own standards. Well, no. You see, if they're going to operate within Canada, they have to operate according to the Constitution 1982 and the Charter. They have to. If they're not, then if their mandate is out of sync with the Constitution, then the mandate can't stand. Trudeau's threat to extort these companies, yeah, I mean, anybody can threaten and do extortion, but can you get away with it? Now, if these social media networks, if they turn around, now they're operating within the public, okay, and they're operating as a benefit to the public. If they start attacking the public, they should lose their license to operate on this land, period. Just period. You're not operating your Facebook, no, you're done. I'm sure somebody can come out with a better one, or another one. And I believe that's what we're going to have to do. If these corporate persons don't stay within the mandate of the Constitution. Now, I don't, you know, I see websites and stuff with a lot of hate, you know, towards people, you know, with the suggestion of murder and all kinds of stuff. Those Antifa fellas and girls and boys, children that attacked that little old lady, you know, and terrorized this woman who has a right to across the street. And she has a right to access that road. As a woman, she does. You, as a woman or a man, you don't have a right to terrorize your fellow woman or man here. That's not the way of our people. That's not the customs of our people. And if you've got a registered organization, you have less than a right. What you have are certain rights that are afforded to you, certain rights as a person, and can be taken away. And that's basically what a statutory creature is. A statutory creature is a person as a corporation, or, you know, an organization or an organ or society created and well, with good intent or whatever, but created to function. You have no intrinsic, fundamental, inalienable rights. What you have are certain rights, and you have to stay within the legislation that mandates how that society, or that type of society, is supposed to act. So I remember when Paul Martin was running against Harper, and I read in the newspaper that if any of the churches came against gay marriage, they would lose their non-profit status. So it shut up the churches, but our churches are corporate, guys, and I'm not trying to offend anybody, but when you register a church with the corporate body, it also is part of a corporate soul and the parent company of that church. You know, back in the old days, well, not so old days, I guess. I don't want to date myself or anything, but back in, I'm trying to give you a good example here. Well, Romania was one of them. You know, Romania keeps coming to mind. Are there any Canadians of Romanian descent that could speak up about what happens when you have government tyranny and a takeover of communism? It would sure be nice to hear from you guys publicly. But what they would do is, like, they have their secret police and stuff and go into the churches. This happened in Nazi Germany as well. As well as other places. But they go into the churches and they would listen to what the preachers are saying and this and that. And a lot of preachers ended up in, you know, the gulags. And so the government would put in their own preacher. Yes. And so now your neighbors, when you go to church, if you said anything, your neighbors could rat you out, and then the secret police would come and get you. And that's what I'm seeing here. We're on the verge of this in Canada, and I don't know if anybody's paying attention. You know, it's like you know, watch my left hand. Whoa, got you with my right. Yeah. Excuse me. So, anyways, so listening to the man I address is Trudeau. The man I address is Justin. The man I address is the man-child. Yeah, he just announced, so I guess we're all going to be under full-fledged attack, and it's going to be interesting to watch these corporate entities, these little Frankensteins, that are allowed to operate within our public, like this is our public airwaves, and this belongs to the people. That's why you can't charge, you know, people have a right to the airwaves here, not like England. And I don't know what happened there. I think it was brought out so that they could have a BBC tax or something, you know, to support BBC, you know, kind of like a CBC thing, you know, they force you to pay for a government propaganda station, you know, like CBC here. They force us to pay. They just say, yeah, no, we're going to give them 1.4 billion this year. Each year. I mean, the budget's coming up again soon. You know, it's who's going to just, like, which one of you so-called public representatives, members of parliament, are going to stand up and say, no, we're not funding it this year? But you do what your leader tells you instead of what the public suggests needs to be corrected. You people don't serve you don't serve your fellow man here. You're not in Parliament. I don't see very many people in Parliament to serve Canadians, to serve their fellow man of this nation. I see you serving special interest groups, corruption. There's that whole circle in Ottawa there, all intertwined, interconnected, that basically really don't give a crap what you and I think. And now they'll be shutting us down on social media by way of extortion to those corporate bodies. And I'm sure they'll be coming to our doors in the middle of the night as well. I'm sure that has to be on their agenda. They're following through with the Communist Manifesto, man. Welcome to the new police state. You know what I'd like to see is I'd like to see a national holiday, you know, for Canada's burial. You know, like Remembrance Day. That poor young man had the honor to stand guard on Remembrance Day and was shot by terrorists, and we don't even talk about it. We don't have a memorial for that guy. Nobody cares. Oh well. Enjoy keeping your head down, your mouth shut, and being in fear of Frankenstein, Franken Trudeau and the gang. And I hope the best in the next life for you, because their next step is to come and hit us and drag people away. And then you got CBC and CTV. Well, they were a bad guy because of this, and they were a bad guy, and then that's it, and then nobody hears from you again. You just disappear. Now, thank God that we do have those of honor within our judiciary still. I know I beaked off about the judiciary, but it is private, guys. It's not our judiciary. The judiciary belongs to the judiciary. It's supposed to be a branch of government and one of our safety nets from tyranny and dictatorship. But it's really tough. It's really tough. And I mean, you've got this crown corporate soul with all your natural resources and coin behind them to take you to these places, to shackle you, imprison you, enslave you, put you into forced servitude, bring you into these courts, and then turn around and you're supposed to how? Defend yourself how? You know, get a lawyer? Oh, why should a man even need a lawyer if you're not in business and you're not doing business and you're not acting as a legal person? Why in the good Lord's name do you need to get a lawyer to represent you as a legal person? To stand on your rights, on your intrinsic, inalienable, fundamental rights, natural rights, which have all been recognized on this land, within this nation, prior, enshrined in the ways of our people, the customs of our people, and the common law. There's no reason to have to. There's no reason for us to have to defend ourselves at these court buildings or these policy enforcement courts or administrative hearings when we don't wish to act that way, and being forced to act as a statutory creature against our will is, well, it's just wrong. It's slavery. It's defrauding the people. It's defrauding and defrauding whomever, that they pull this crap on. So it's going to be interesting to see how many people are thrown off, and it's too funny because I may not be able to see Menzies get roughed up and knocked down anymore. What a harmless man. What a totally harmless man. I don't think poor Menzies could, fight his way out of a wet paper bag. I mean, I'm old and I'm crippled and stuff, man, but, I can still put in a few rounds, but Menzies? Like, come on. Come on, you guys. You can't manhandle people like that. Especially those who represent the public. Those are the free press. Wow. So enjoy one of the new laws. Free speech is done. Your guns will be done. Your right to go from point A to point B on this land will be done pretty soon. Your right to own property on this land, and yes, you have a right to own property. Everybody has a right to own property. It's an inalienable right, And I'm not talking about land. I'm talking about property. You figure out what the difference is. But yeah. Hopefully, I don't know, man. I just hope that this whole nation isn't ruined, like totally ruined. I hope we don't end up like Syria. I hope we don't end up like what was the country there that Pol Pot was in charge of, where he killed all the teachers and everybody once he got in power. I just hope we don't end up like communist Russia, or communist Poland, or communist Hungary, or East Germany. We're not cool enough to be Cuba. And they got way better weather, and they got fruit that just grows naturally, so they can survive. They can't afford meat, or not much meat, because it's so frickin' expensive. But China, yeah, I could see us being like China, just enslave all those people into sweat labor camps, their version of the gulags, and everybody else, as long as they toed the line, keep their fucking head down, don't say a word against Mama China, the government is God, then you might be okay. And that's what I believe Trudeau's bringing us to that. Yeah. Did I mention that George Soros has been kicked out of 6 countries now, and so have his so-called propaganda charity organizations? Yeah, did you see what the president of the Philippines said? Hey, George Soros was on his way to the Philippines, and the president was just in the works of bringing back the death sentence. And he heard George Soros was coming to town, So the president of the Philippines got up and said, hey, Soros, you set one foot on this property and I'm going to send you back to the hell that you came from. Thank God people are waking up. Thank God, you know. Thank God the Filipinos have some intestinal fortitude, unlike some Canadians. Have a great day, guys.